harder than going the other way. When you're going that way, you just want to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. So you get a jump start on the day. You come this way, you want to sleep till 1 in the afternoon, right? So we're doing things a little different today, taking the opportunity to update you all on our recent trip to the Philippines. And I just want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you from us, the team that you sent, from the missionaries serving in the Philippines, from the believers in the village. Thank you for supporting us all, for sending us out. Just a quick overview of the trip, of what we did. We got a few slides this morning. Yeah, the mud. I wasn't going to talk about the mud. Maybe somebody wants to talk about the mud, but there's a map. And as the team's sharing, it's probably going to get a bit confusing about where they're talking about, no matter what we do. But just for the sake of giving it an effort, we flew into Manila. This is a 3-week trip. We flew into Manila May 11th and spent a couple nights there. Then we flew up north to a place called Tuguegarao. That's kind of that little circle in the middle up at the top. And then from there, we visited three tribal locations. Out on the coast is Valley Cove. That's where our family served. And then up kind of northwest is Namaltugan. And then southwest is a place called Parati. And so we flew up to Tuguegarao, spent about 5 days in Valley Cove, then spent a couple days in Parati, and then just a day in Namaltugan, then back to Tuguegarao. And then we'd planned to fly back to Manila, but it wouldn't be missions and all that without. Yeah, we went in May because certainly there won't be any typhoons in May, and they had a big Category 5 super typhoon, Typhoon Betty, and so she rolled in where they always do, right there up in northern Luzon. So we got to take the bus. It's a 13-hour trip on the bus. Just for context, if you could go back to the map real quick, Julie. So from Manila to Tuguegarao, like if you were just in terms of distance, it's like here to Portland. So it should be 4 hours, right? It's not. It's not. 13 hours. So that was an adventure. That was fun. So that's kind of a quick overview of the trip, and like I said, and the team's going to come and they're going to share some details and some highlights and things. But first, why did we go? Why did we go? I'm going to read for you from Romans 1, verses 8 to 12. This kind of became something of a theme passage for me anyway for the trip. And when we were in the village in Valley Cove, some of the believers came and asked if we could have sort of a small gimong, so a gathering, just get together and sing and pray. And this was the passage that I read that evening for everybody. And some people asked to hear what Ilocano sounds like, what the language sounds like. So I'll go ahead and I'll read at least the first few verses in Ilocano, if you're interested. Umuna unay, agyamanak iti Diyos ko babaen ka ni Jesu Kristo para kada kayo amin. Agdin dinamag ngamin, ti maipapan iti pamati yu, iti entero alubong. Masaksyan ti Diyos apudno, ti ibagbagak, wan ti Diyos apagserserbiak, iti amin na pusok babaen iti panangikaskasabak iti naimbag adamag, maipapan iti anak na. Amo ti Diyos akanayon, asilalagipak kada kayo tunggal agkararagak. In English, for the rest of us, in English it reads, "Let me say first that I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith in him is being talked about all over the world. God knows how often I pray for you. Day and night I bring you and your needs in prayer to God, whom I serve with all my heart. by spreading the good news about his son. One of the things I always pray for is the opportunity, God willing, to come at last to see you. For I long to visit you, so I can bring you some spiritual gift that will help you grow strong in the Lord. When we get together, I want to encourage you in your faith, but I also want to be encouraged by yours. And like I said, in many ways, that could be something of a theme for the trip. Mutual encouragement, going in person, right? Going in person to visit people whose faith is being talked about in many parts of the world. And people we pray for all the time, wanting to share a gift, some gift. We don't even know what. Not knowing entirely what they need, just wanting to bless them and encourage them and trusting that in the process, God would encourage us all. And so that's why we went. It wasn't to paint a building or to work in an orphanage. It was to go and to be an encouragement. And we'll talk more about that passage a little bit later. But this morning, the team is going to come up and just share briefly about their experiences, something that they were blessed by on the trip. So if you guys want to come up and stand up here awkwardly while I continue to talk. This morning, and I should just say, there's no way we're going to be able to comprehensively cover 3 weeks and all the different things that happened. And there were 12 of us that went. And so we're just getting a taster this morning. But I should mention that we're going to have a missions emphasis night later on this month. And there'll be an announcement about that, when exactly that is. Watch for that. And we're going to have more pictures, more video, time to talk about the trip, questions and answers, all that kind of thing later on. But this morning, I think we're kicking it off with Ridgeway. Tell us a little bit about what you saw.
All right, so I think there's a picture that's accompanied. Okay, so this is the picture or the memory that Ridgeway wanted to share with you guys. Ridgeway, can you tell us about this picture?
Well, first off, I'd like to say nice memory on the picture because I thought you might show wits.
So what is going on in this picture, Ridgeway?
Well, I'm the person laying down in it, and then my friends are all surrounding me except my brother, who is in the camouflage and speckled shirts right now, but he's in the blue and black shorts.
And tell me what's going on. What happened to you? Why are you laying on the ground?
The game we're playing is Fire Dragons, and I'm the Fire Dragon, and they're all trying. Me and my brother, who I already told you is in the camouflage shirt, is another Fire Dragon, and I'm a Fire Dragon, and they're trying to kill me.
And who are the people who are trying to kill you, Ridgeway?
My friends.
And who are they? Do you remember their names?
Well, Arrow, Cam, Indigo, Bo, and Henley.
And who are they? Why are they there?
They're the missionary kids.
Is there anything else you want? Where is this taking place? What village?
Namaltugan.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about the picture?
Well, the things they're holding, you would expect those to be swords. The ones that are just straight are guns, and the ones that they have two of are arrows, and those put you to sleep so then they can come and kill you.
All right. Thank you, Ridgeway. Yeah. Okay, next slide is Whitaker's memory picture. All right. Whitaker, tell me a little bit about this picture.
We're standing by a jeepney, and a jeepney is an old jeep that used to be in the army, and it's used to haul people.
Yeah, And do you know why it's colored so brightly?
No.
Fair enough. All right. Who are you hanging out with in that picture? Do you remember their names?
Cam, Ridgeway, and Indigo, and Erica, and Henley.
And what were we doing when we found this jeepney? Do you remember what we were doing then?
Cicada hunting.
Yeah, hunting cicadas. And what were we on a hike? And what village were we in?
Namaltugan.
Namaltugan. Is there anything else you want to tell me about that picture?
No.
Okay, thank you, Whitaker.
What did they do with the cicadas that they caught?
What did they do with the cicadas that we caught, Whitaker?
Ate them.
I did not eat them.
And that is true.
That was an experience. I hadn't done that before. All right, who's up next? Judah.
So here we are at, I forgot the name of the waterfall, Basayan. The water was very cold, and it was just very nostalgic. It just brought back a lot of memories, and I don't know how to explain it. I guess it wasn't, we were there to, no idea. I didn't think about this. Whatever. Well, one of the most memorable things is when I got back. I'm only 4'11", which is super short. But when I was little, all of we had ladies that would come and help manage the house while we were around. And I remember them being like, in my mind, they were like the tallest people I knew. In real life, they were like 4'10". So coming back, it was just really weird because they were my height, and when you hug them, they're like am I hugging a kid? What? What?
They told him that they could still pick him up though, and they did.
Oh, no, it is you. Okay, so in the right-hand picture, we're with our friends in Parati, with Naomi Shaw and the Easton girls, Aria, Quinn, and Camry. And in the left picture, we're with our friends, the Daltons, in Manila, eating ice cream. So, yeah, it was really fun. It was really nice to hang out with them and just kind of catch up with old friends. And, yeah, I think we tried to be a blessing to them and encouraging to them. And it was also encouraging to us to see them again, just to see like a familiar face and just catching up with old friends. It was nice to see them again. So, yeah.
Hi. So I chose these pictures. They're of us singing with our friends. The top one is in Parati, singing with the Eastons, and the bottom one is in Manila, singing with the Daltons. I chose this because missionary kids sing a lot. We always did. All my friends were very musical, and so whenever we were being hauled around, like in a big van or going anywhere, just hanging out, like doing dishes, often, we just would sing, oftentimes worship songs, sometimes just fun, silly songs. But that was really nice to do again, to sing everywhere we went, to worship everywhere we went. We sang in Manila, we sang in Tuguegarao, we sang in Valley Cove, we sang in Parati. I don't know if we sang in Namalturgan, probably, maybe, I don't know. But that is very encouraging. Music is very encouraging. So it was nice to do that again, and that's something very universal. Filipinos love music, Americans love music, especially worship songs. So I hope that was encouraging to me, and I hope it was encouraging to everyone else as well.
Okay, so I don't know if you can really tell what's going on in this picture, but so we went to Valley Cove, and there was this mob of kids that would kind of run around and hang out with us. We had opportunities to play Frisbee with them and basketball, and this moment here, we were throwing candy. And so it was really fun because they were all chasing each other. The Evans boys got to join in with them. And this is one of my favorite parts. I think overall for Valley Cove was just getting to hang out with these kids. And it was special because even though you can't really communicate with them, you know, they still want to hang out with you and just have a good time. And one of the fun parts with the candy was, you know, they don't have access to American candy, so it's all very different. And so we had like some normal things, you know, like Swedish Fish and Sour Patch Kids. But then, like, for some reason, there was Warheads thrown in there. And I don't know if you know what those are, but that's like the most sour candy you can get. And so we didn't know how they would take it. So we gave them the Warheads the first night, and they would open them and they would taste them, and then they would freak out and like spit it out, and then they would hand it to the next kid to try. And so they all like just being ornery to each other, and we're having a good time. And then I don't have a picture, but Sam, who was with us as well, he brought Pop Rocks, and those are the ones that pop in your mouth. And I thought the kids weren't going to like those ones, but we handed them out, and you know how kids just have that amazing laugh when they're just so excited, and we handed it out and they were all just laughing, and they thought it was the coolest thing. So this night was pretty special. We had worship songs. We made some of the ates, which are the ladies who help out. They made a giant bowl of pancit, which is like my favorite food from there, and they sang us some of their worship songs at Ilocano, and we just had a really amazing night getting to see everybody. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
All right, here's my memory from the trip, and it kind of encompasses a little bit of what Jared said, in that this is Valley Cove. This is underneath the house that we were staying in, and every night, every evening, villagers would come in, friends of the majors that they had witnessed to while they were there. They would come in, they would hang out, they would drink coffee, we'd feed them crackers, stuff like that. The mosquitoes would come in and start sucking blood. And they would just sit underneath there and shoot the breeze. And I came down a couple times. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but they'd just hang out and talk about life and catch up on things. The lady in the center there, Tess, right? She's one of the believers in Valley Cove. She's one of the people that I think really got what Jared and Banna went to share. And she's now kind of one of the figureheads of Christianity in Valley Cove. We actually helped repair her house with a little bit of funding on the trip that I did back before. But anyway, she's a really sweethearted lady. It was good to see her again. And the reason I chose this picture is because it kind of encompasses of why we went back to reconnect with the people that the majors witnessed to, and also let them reconnect with the majors. Oh, yeah. You can't forget the black dog in the background. It's named Black Dragon, just don't touch it. Black Dragon, yeah.
All right, this is my picture. This is Valley Cove. After the 5 days there, we're getting ready to leave in the helicopter. And the two village kids that are sitting next to our three boys there, they hung out at the house a lot, came on some adventures with us. Their names are Din Din and Rem Rem. There are some others behind too, huh? But it was interesting with Din Din and Rem Rem, seeing the interaction with my two boys especially. They speak maybe a little bit of English. They were hesitant at first, but they really don't speak the same language, but play is universal. So they figured out how to play with one another, how to interact, and became pretty good friends, built a relationship. And that was what the word that was on my mind a lot since this trip is relationships. And we got to see kind of an array of different stages of relationships on this trip, and it was really cool. And yesterday I read in Jeremiah chapter 1, starting in verse 4, "Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. Then I said, Lord God, behold, I do not know how to speak, for I am only a youth. But the Lord said to me, Do not say, I am only a youth, for to all to whom I send you, you shall go, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, declares the Lord." And it just impressed on my heart that no matter your age, no matter your stage, that if the Lord calls you to go somewhere or speak to someone, and you're willing to do it and you do it, that a relationship can bloom from that. And I'm just thankful for this trip and what I got to witness with relationships.
So this is my the picture I chose. This is my friend Delia, and you probably heard me tell stories about her, but she was one of the first people to just. She was so eager to hear the teaching and just really, really excited. But she was just in the beginning stages because we teach foundationally, from creation all the way through Revelation. So she was just like overwhelmed, but like so eager, and she would just come to the teaching, and then she would come afterwards and ask lots and lots of questions. And anyways, when she finally got the gospel and understood it, it was it was watching death to life. It was amazing. And anyways, one of the funniest stories I always tell about her was we were talking one afternoon over coffee doing, I think we were in the house, but anyways, I was sharing with her how the Lord led us to, for Jared to learn Ilocano, which was the wider language of communication. And if you know anything about missions and all that, it's you're trying to get to the heart language, right? But it's complicated because Filipinos speak a lot of languages. And so, which one is going to communicate best? And she's an Ilocano speaker, so that is her heart language. And everybody in the village understands Ilocano really well, and it communicates very well. But not everybody is considered a native Ilocano speaker, but she is. And so I was sharing with her how we weren't going to learn Ilocano, we were going to learn Ogta, but the Lord changed our direction and changed our heart. And she's like, "What do you mean you weren't going to learn Ilocano?" And I was like, "Well, we just weren't. We were going to learn Ogta, and we were going to focus in." And then the Lord changed. And she's like, "I don't speak Ogta." And I was like, "I know." And she's like, and then she started listing all the different languages in the village. What if you decided to learn Kalinga? "I don't speak Kalinga, And so she's just kind of freaking out for a little while. But it was just amazing to see her testimony to me of just God knew her and He guided her. And it's crazy how God takes you all the way across the world. Maybe even just for one person. And this little lady, I was like, Judah, I forgot how little they are, and she's older than me. She's my ate, and she's my older sister. And anyway, she has 14 children. And one of her kids said, "What does this mean for us, Mom? What does all this teaching mean?" And she said, "This means we have hope." And so anyways, to see her again and to be able to encourage her and to be able to just say, hey, we haven't forgotten about you, was a highlight for me.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. Again, it's not a comprehensive look at all the 3 weeks and and all the things that happened, but I hope it gives you a taste of the trip and what we saw, what we experienced, and I have a few more pictures to share. Encouragement, mutual encouragement, something we were praying that's how the Lord would use us in this trip. We wanted to encourage folks by bringing gifts. You all helped us do that. We were able to purchase and bring 100 MP3 players, these little things, like the ones we'd sent over in the past, and there continues to be a demand for those. In Valley Cove, Tess, you saw the picture of her. When we showed up, she was saying, I have a waiting list. I've got 20 people who are waiting for one of these, and she's kind of begun to use it as sort of an evangelistic tool. It's a bilingual MP3 player, so the full Bible in Tagalog is on sort of one side of it. You push one button and you're listening in Tagalog, and you push the other one and it switches over to Ilocano, and it also has the Ilocano Bible teaching that I did before we left. And so she kind of tries to stir interest in people. Hey, would you like to listen to the Bible? Do you want to hear the Bible taught? And gets an MP3 player, and then she talks to him about it. And so we left 60 of these in Valley Cove. We brought 20 to the Parati team and 20 to the Namaltugan team as well to use as a tool. And it was great. It was great to be able to bring those. We also wanted to encourage the missionaries by bringing over some tastes of home. And so summer sausage and jerky were in high demand, cheese, candy, and other things, board games, and things that their families enjoy but can't get where they are. And so it was fun to be able to do that. But of course, you can ship those things, right? You can ship those things. But there are things you just can't send by post, right? And so that's why we went in person. I think the best part of the visit for me was getting a chance to catch up with people in person, people in Valley Cove. There's some of the ladies. This is Delia again. She comes up about a little above my waist, I think. No, that's her husband Carlos and Ferdinand on the morning they asked to be baptized, and they're both believers, and so it was a privilege to get to do that one early morning, and to see the transformation in Carlos and Delia, really their whole family. It is just as Banna said, it's death to life, but it was wonderful to be able to see them again, and to see the people in Parati. Oh, this is also, so John and Rachel. John is actually beaming with joy right now in this picture. That's about as excited as John. No, he'd laugh at that. Well, no, he would find that funny. This is John and Rachel. There are coworkers living there in Valley Cove. Rachel's expecting. They recently got married. Really excited for them. And we're going to continue to be praying for them. John's been there for many years, I think about 15 years now in Valley Cove. And they're praying about what God would have them do next, whether that's to build a bigger house in Valley Cove, or maybe be looking at another place along the coast that has not yet heard. And so we're going to be praying for them. It was wonderful to see them, wonderful to spend time with them. And then also, again, the team in Parati, the Easton family, to tromp around in the mud with them. It's a unique mud they have there in Parati. It's world famous. You come in, you're 6'2" when you step off the helicopter, and throughout the day, you just get taller and taller and taller. it was wonderful to spend time with them, to sing with them. They're a very musical family, to play games, and just, I trust to be an encouragement to them, and we were encouraged by spending time with them. We had a chance to be a part of the youth program that they have in the evenings, or I should say it's on a Wednesday evening, and our kids like to sing. The kids in the program, they love to sing. I don't know how many times we sang that same song over and over and over again, but it was good. And then the team in Namaltugan as well. I was going to put in a picture of people, but that's their houses. This is Namaltugan, and then of course folks in Tigigaraw, the support, the pilots and supply buyers and other folks that enable the missionaries to be where they are. That was, I think, the highlight for the visit for me, was connecting with all these different people. And so we went in person to be able to talk with people in person, face to face, to share about what God has been doing in our lives, and hear about what God is doing in theirs, to hear how they've been learning to trust Him in different ways, and to tell them about how God has been faithful to us. And you know, it was interesting. A couple things stood out to me about the different conversations that I had throughout those 3 weeks. Two things. The first one isn't totally surprising. It's something we know just kind of intuitively, but in person, talking with friends and former coworkers we were talking about things they couldn't put in a prayer letter, things they didn't know how to put into a prayer letter. Frankly, things you don't broadcast on the internet. Things you talk to someone about in person. Because they're hard things, really hard things, you know. And you understand this because if you write Christmas letters every year, it's easy enough to give sort of a summary of major events, but it can be very hard to communicate the depth and complexity of what's going on in your life. Of the struggles, or to do justice to what God is taking you through on just a couple pages. It's the sorts of things that you talk about. You talk about that stuff in person. And that's not totally surprising. But the second thing was that one word kept coming up in all these different conversations. The same word, isolation. Not like COVID isolation, that's pretty much done here, and it's pretty much done in the Philippines. No, just isolate, feeling separate, feeling alone. I just kept thinking about how, here we are in the most connected age in human history. It's cheaper and easier and faster than ever to FaceTime or do all these things. And yet there are more and more people who feel as isolated as they ever have, maybe more so. So kind of with that in mind, I go back to these verses in Romans 1. And let me read the last couple verses again for you. This is from Romans 1. This is verses 10, 11, and 12. One of the things I always pray for is the opportunity, God willing, to come at last to see you. For I long to visit you, so I can bring you some spiritual gift that will help you grow strong in the Lord. And when we get together, I want to encourage you in your faith, but I also want to be encouraged by yours. Now, as you listen to that and as we read that, remember where this is coming from, right? I think about the letter that Paul is writing here. This is Romans. This is one of, if not the, most powerful, most concentrated explanations of the gospel of grace, of the truths that are foundational to our faith, right? Now and forever. It's an amazing letter. A letter he sent on ahead, and today, again, this letter, it's still absolutely transformative. We pray that the teaching of this letter in Ilocano is changing lives. But I'm struck that Paul says in verse 8, he says, first of all, before we get to all of that, all the things that I want to tell you in this letter, first of all, I want you to know this. I'm so thankful for you. I pray for you. I want to come see you. That's the first thing you should know. First thing you should know, I'm grateful for your faith. I pray for you. I desperately want to come and visit you. And when I come, I think there's something that I can offer you in person. And I want to be encouraged together in person. Okay, that's not to downplay the importance of using whatever tools you can to stay connected with other believers. But apparently, for the author of one of the greatest letters ever written, there are some things you just can't send through the mail. And the ministry of the gospel that Paul has in mind, and he goes on to say it, it involves more than just writing a letter. It's going in person. It's living life with people, being with them where they live, talking together, sharing meals, suffering together, worshiping together, all of it. And my takeaway is this. I think Paul's tapping into something right here at the front of, again, one of the best letters ever written that reminds us all that one of the best parts of being in the family of God is being with the family of God. It's something really good. Something worth longing for. And that's how God designed us to be built up and to grow. That's one of the key ways we stay encouraged. Again, one of the best parts of being in the family of God is being with the family of God. Now, that isn't a perspective that all Christians share these days, is it? I struggle with that sometimes. This trip reminded me how precious this is. Sometimes something that I just in the past few years, I kind of start to take for granted a little bit. This is precious. What we have here this morning. To gather, to sing, to be together in person, to be able to meet up during the week face to face, to encourage one another together in our faith, to share our gifts with each other. I'm reminded that this is what the missionaries in the Philippines long for. That's why they're doing all this. They long to fellowship with the people they're serving. They're laboring on, looking forward to the day when they will have neighbors that they can do this with. Praise Christ together, be built up together. And I pray God grants them that desire. I pray if that's what you're longing for, God would satisfy that in you as well. And if you don't, I pray God would stir that up in you. He certainly used the trip to stir that up in me. That he would stir in us all the same passion Paul speaks of here, to be with one another, to offer whatever he can to build them up, and with the expectation, this is good, and we're going to be encouraged in return. Encouraged when we listen to one another, to the story of what Christ is doing for us. And so, as we get ready to close today, we're going to celebrate communion together. And if those who are serving that, if you prepare. In saying that the ministry of the gospel involves going in person, again, that isn't to say that there aren't great tools out there, like those MP3 players or stuff we can put on the internet, or, there are good tools out there for spreading the preaching of God's word. But the ministry of the gospel involves going in person because it's always been the plan. That's always been the way God himself has worked. He didn't just drop leaflets from heaven, right? He didn't just send letters. He came in person. And that's where the whole story of human history just pivots, when he came in person. And it cost him dearly, right? Jesus came, he lived on earth as a man, he lived life with the people he served, he talked with them, he ate with them. And then on his last night with them, he showed them how much he was willing to give for them, his life, his body, his blood, everything, to give them new life, to make them a new people, to make them children of God, so that we could have this. And he told them to remember by doing this, and that's what we're going to do here this morning.